Hey, everybody. I'm super excited here for my next guest. And the question is, what does it take to get to 70, 80, and in this superstar's case, over 90 listing appointments in a month? Well, we're going to share with you exactly what framework, what it takes for success, the action steps, the action items, and how you can become a superstar in your business right away. But first, stay tuned here for our intro.
Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia, and in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast.
Woohoo! This is long overdue, and it's probably a couple years overdue. But I am excited. I've got Deana. Deana, thank you so very much for jumping on. And for everyone that's watching, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Deana Hitsman with Deana Hitsman Real Estate.
Well, hello, Deana.
How's it going?
I am awesome. Now that you're on, I'm even better because we've got a lot of great stuff to unpack. And I believe that just in people that tune in and watch this and they work on emulating some of the action items and action steps that we're going to give folks today, I think it's going to be a game changer. I want to give a little bit of background. Deana was my top inside sales rep for many years. No one's actually toppled your performance. I mean, I know we were talking beforehand. I think you said you did over 100. I know it was over 90 at the very minimum. You had tons of listing appointments. You were awesome. What does it take? What are some common characteristics and traits that it takes for somebody to be good as an inside sales rep? Start there.
So it started with open-mindedness. When someone sees, when you see the bigger picture, you're looking to grow, you have to be open-minded to making changes and welcoming, different systems, tools, coaching, and doing that consistently, day in and day out, and also holding yourself accountable. For me, if I didn't set appointments, I'd have to go back and look at those recordings, listen to those, and really just dissect it and figure out, okay, why did I not set this? What could have been done differently? And then, actually taking the action by doing something differently, doing basically just the opposite of why, what I wasn't doing or what I'd done that didn't set the appointments.
I love that. And so it goes back to, it seems like it would also go back to having a little bit of humility as well and being able to admit, you're saying open-mindedness, which open-mindedness, I mean, 100%. I mean, you have to be open-minded. I think though also you need to be able to understand that everything that happened is an opportunity to learn. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
That's why I knew having you on, we were going to be back and forth. It's all yin and yang, but it's the truth. Because if you are able, and it's that one thing that you said, just going back and looking at areas of improvement, looking at ways that you can become just slightly better and that you can be more engaged, more in tuned, and just better equipped because you're open minded to the feedback and to the feedback loop. That's one thing I loved about you. You were, and I still love it about you. I don't know why I'm talking in past tense, but you're still open-minded. You still have a commitment to always get better. I think that's so vital.
Absolutely. I mean, the numbers don't lie at the end of the day.
No.
If you don't like what you see, then something has to change.
Yeah, it is. That's no truer words have been spoken. I think I've had a trainer or two, maybe even a personal health or physical wellness trainer tell me, hey, if you don't like the numbers, that's a different thing. But hey, it all relates. So yeah, it's crazy. And you now are, I mean, looking at you, you seem like you're in the best area of your life. Like you are in the best place. You've got a great mindset. I'm watching the trajectory, the things that you're doing online, the things that you're doing in real estate and business. So I'm very excited to have you on here because I think that for folks that have struggled, or we've all had down times in life. I mean, what's some advice that you'd give for real estate agents right now, or business, even entrepreneurs, anybody that's struggling? What's some advice that you'd give them that helped you kind of get to where you are today, if you don't mind sharing?
Never give up.
Never
Never
give
give
up.
You just keep pushing forward no matter what. Some days your 100% is actually going to be more of like a 50%. It may fail, but giving it everything you have consistently, day in and day out.
I love that. And it's funny because days like today, it's a great day, but it was just full of just lots of things. Sales calls. I've got a commitment that I do every day for personal health and wellness, and there's sending agreements. It's been a really hectic day, but I know that in order for me, and there are some days I don't feel like doing my workout stuff. There are some days I don't feel like I have it all. But you're so right. You have to continue to push through. And I think that's really, I mean, would you agree that's what made you also so great as an inside salesperson as well?
Yes, undoubtedly.
And now great as an agent, great as a leader, as somebody who is able to help people grow their business. For you, Deana, what is the ideal situation look like for you as far as how you can help people? For everyone that's watching, by the way, of course, you can reach out to Deana on Facebook. And Deana, you're pretty easily accessible on Facebook, pretty easy to find.
Yes.
Good. What is the ideal workflow look like? Like, how can you help people grow their business? What are some things that you can do to help them?
So basically just starting out with, knowing first identifying what their goals are.
Right.
And, with simple systems and processes and, check-ins where we communicate on a consistent basis will allow us to not only get off to a great start, will also allow me to check in from time to time. I don't want to just throw someone out to the wolves. So we have those consistent check-ins also to see where things are. And with the KPIs, which are key performance indicators, knowing what their numbers are, where they're at, will allow us to know what we need to do moving forward. Are we getting closer to our goal, or are we getting further away? Okay. If we're getting further away, what do we need to do to get us closer to what we're looking at here?
I like it. That the old checkup from the neck up, as Mr. J. Kinder would call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It reminded me of that. I'm like, oh, the checkup from the neck up. But yeah, you have to, because you really never know when you're underwater until it's too late. Until all of a sudden you're gasping for that last breath. And man, that was a really dark picture. I didn't mean to paint it so dark. But my point is, you don't know. You're kind of like sitting there and you're like, oh man, this water looks like it's getting high. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't breathe anymore. And at that point, there's a good chance that you waited a little bit too long to take action. And it doesn't mean you can't dig yourself out, because I mean, we've all hit rock bottom. We've all a lot of us come from the worst situation. And some of us, it's the ones that give up. It's the ones that quit. It's the ones that don't keep pushing forward, those are the people that stay where they are. And that's really, in my opinion, and that's truly where loss is, when you're not pushing to move things forward. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Yep. And so anytime in business or life that I stopped, I became stagnant. It was only a matter of time before I would fall back. And that's a lot worse than standing still. You know, you can only tread water for so long before you're going to go under. And that's very painful, extremely painful.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, I'm as real and raw and as uncut as it gets. And I'm going to throw this out there. And I mean, you could share your story if you'd like. But I mean, for me, I would say my worst time and my biggest challenge in my life was back in 2015 when I had first started Appointments Today. And I was married. I was, at that point, I was 4 years in, and I was on the brink of a divorce because, my wife and I now, I mean, we work together. We're closer than ever. I mean, we have one car. We've just gotten down to one car because we're almost always together. Every time I call you, she's on the other end with me. So, I mean, it's crazy how much things change over time. But I mean, 2015, we were at the brink of divorce. And a lot of it was because of lack there of communication, lack of accountability, lack of transparency, lack thereof systems and processes in place to help us create the best life we possibly could. And a lot of it was, I mean, I was working at the time, I want to say we had like 27 or 28 clients, and it was just me and Al. And and Al would tell you to this day, Al's big contribution was his network, the people he knew, his knowledge of the industry, and the way that he helped coach me up, and he helped me become the best version of myself. But Al would tell you that he even said, listen, I'm focused on real estate. My goal is not to run the contact center. That's you do that. So, and I did it. And I almost ran myself and it into the ground. And I realized that I needed some training, some coaching, some help, figuring out ways to delegate off all of the things that were on my to-do list. And the most ironic part about it is that I ran an inside sales company that didn't want to hire a virtual assistant because I thought I could do it all myself. And I almost lost everything in that time. And it was tough, but I climbed back out, and I think that now, I mean, my relationship's better than ever. Our business is doing much, much better than it was then, even though when you do everything yourself, you have some very good tendencies to have very high levels of profitability, which is nice. But I would much rather spread the wealth and have multiple people helping me so that I can become more profitable and become more valuable over time, opposed to doing everything on my own. So that's my story. Deana, for you, I mean, what are some areas that, just lessons, things you've learned in your life? Because I mean, I don't have kids, and you have kids. So, I mean, I can only imagine, working around the clock, raising your kids. I mean, you're super strong, like probably one of the strongest women I know. And I say that very sincerely. I mean, you're raising your kids, you're teaching them the ways to do the right things, but it's challenging because every single day you're pushing your business forward. Like, what are some lessons, if you wouldn't mind sharing? I think people would get a ton of value from that.
Sure. And so for me, it started with balance. I felt like I was constantly on this roller coaster that I couldn't get off of. And it wasn't fun. Whenever my business was, doing well, my family life was not. When my family life was doing well, my revenue was not.
Right.
And if you've ever been through that, you understand just how scary that can be. It can bankrupt you in your relationships and your money, your bank account. And I got tired of doing that. And so there's been many times throughout the course of almost 15 years now that I have had to start and and stop and start and stop and rebuild. And the most recent was the last quarter of this past year in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a single woman with 3 kids, I saw opportunity. I was facing some challenges, but it wasn't painful. This last time, I hadn't hit a rock bottom, but I could see it from afar.
Right.
And I started tapping into some other people through EXP and recognized just how much they had grown. People that I coached, even ISAs that were, just skyrocketing. And that was very appealing. And so I started just kind of following them and seeing what they were doing, and didn't really try to dissect it too much, just kept it simple. This is what they're doing. This is what I'm going to do. Right. And made the switch. And from that moment on, I started figuring out better ways that I could implement it into my business as far as systems, processes, people that could take a lot of that load off of me, be it with my children, helping with them, what they're needing to do. It's something that I don't necessarily need to be directly involved in, or if I'm not able to, depending. Same with my workload. I actually had to look at hiring an inside sales agent myself and taking off some of the admin work, and then implementing systems and processes that will do the work for me and for the assistant. And that's kind of been a long-term goal, so that it's duplicatable for not only me, but other people that are looking at growing their own company as well.
I think that's so crazy that your results were like, it makes me laugh, because I think of how amazing you are on the phone and how much you've probably had to change your approach, your way of thinking, maybe even lower your standards just for a short period of time while you're training someone up, while you're getting them to that level of excellence on the phone. Because I can't imagine, I talk to agents all the time, like, oh yeah, I call my own leads, I'm the greatest. And I'm like, okay. But I listen to agents' calls. I don't really do a lot of the training and coaching anymore. I leave that to Deana over here. She's awesome at that. But I would tell you that from calls that I would listen to from agents, I'm like, this is an agent that made this call. But then a lot of the times you're like, oh, I don't really need an ISA. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you do. But they don't see that. And for you, you're amazing on the phone, but I think you realize that you're being pulled in so many directions, and it only goes so far until something breaks. So having those systems to optimize your life, having those that paint by numbers system to help you, I think that's a total game changer.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy because you and I talked about where moving to Florida for us, and we had no systems in place. The gym happened when we felt like the gym should happen. The shopping for things around the house happened when we felt like it should happen. Sales calls happened when it felt like it should happen. Paying bills happened when I felt like it should happen. And what that did is it created chaos. It created stress, anxiety. It created a system that was made to break, and we broke that system, but we broke it and then we rebuilt it and we made it better. And now everything is time blocked. Everything is regimented. I was on here a couple minutes even beforehand, ready to roll. My sales calls are happening down to the minute. My days are time blocked out. I block out the personal things, the things that are the most important, the things that are not important, I leave off of there. And I think that that's where a lot of folks, especially now in the real estate industry, because let's face it, it is, again, you're in it, more than I would right this moment because you're in it daily. But would you say that it's more challenging now than it was 2-3 years ago?
As far as the market or time management?
The market. I mean, well, time management. I don't know if time management may never change. I mean, unless you just don't have, unless you have a life that it's just you that you're worried about. But then then you have a different set of challenges. But I mean, as far as the market itself, would you say the market's a little more challenging now than it was a few years ago?
No, I see opportunity. I don't see challenges.
Okay.
I see opportunity.
I like it. I like it. I see both, and I'm going to tell you why I see both, because I see the people that are challenged right now, and the ones that are struggling are the ones who generally don't have these systems in place. And you're right, it is an opportunity, absolutely, but it is also, it's all about what you make it. And a lot of us have a tendency to think that we can outwork our systems. We have a tendency to think that we can out hustle what the golden rules are, which is show up, show out every single day, be committed, don't just be interested, and don't just be full of excuses. Have a level of accountability and core values, which I'm sure you've probably gone through some coaching on core values with members of teams that you coach.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you as far as seeing some challenges. There are challenges in every opportunity. That's
yeah, absolutely.
In order to create that opportunity, you have to face adversity. I feel.
Yeah. You're right.
Every once in a while, you might get lucky, but more times than not, whenever I've been successful, it was after overcoming very painful, extreme obstacles.
Yeah.
And so a lot, though, as far as challenges for me, the way that I perceive it is mindset. The market is going to be what it's going to be unless we do something differently. And so if we're able to see the opportunity in those challenges, that's when we're able to do something about it. We're able to make those changes. For instance, it seems to be everyone that I've spoken with across different parts of the U.S. seem to be struggling with lack of inventory, listing inventory.
Yeah.
So knowing
that's the struggle I was talking about, by the way. Continue.
Yeah. And so, and knowing that, what do we need to do? What can we do? Well, let's see. I've figured out a way that I can set a lot of appointments. And so that's what I'm able to do is help people, make that possible through coaching and systems processes, so that they're able to do that. I'm doing my part to bring new listings on the market, but my primary focus is helping people build that for themselves.
I love that. And, I don't want to call people out because no one likes to be called out, but I am going to call people. I will call out the individuals that if you are struggling right now, in a lot of cases, it takes that time to look into that mirror of accountability and realize that there are some things that you may be missing out on. And I'm an open book, so sometimes my wife even's like, "You share too much, right? Tell everybody all this stuff." I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Like, I want people to know this stuff because I want them to not do the things I did. When I moved down to Florida, I lived life like I was on vacation. I mean, I literally lived life like I was on vacation. Most of the week I'd have people doing work for me, so didn't really worry too much about the work or the day to day. I was more worried about, let's go here, let's go there, let's explore this, let's explore that, which was fun. And I don't regret that. I don't. But remember how you were saying that there were times in your life where your family life is amazing and your business life, not so good. Well, I was depleted in the business life big time. A lot of lessons learned in 2021. Now, the beginning of this year I would actually say this has probably been the best beginning of any and every year I've ever had. I've had tons of momentum and things have really, really started to really shift in a way that I have not seen in I've never seen since I've been in business. So I'm very thankful for that. I feel very blessed and fortunate for that, but it's also because I put myself in the right places. I put myself in the right conversations. I reached out to the influencers in the business. I reached out to people that I knew better than I did, because I was running advertising on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, and I still bring in people from that. And it's not that it's great, but there is nothing to replace that power of people who have already accomplished what you're looking to accomplish, and modeling and duplicating, which is so funny, and is the why we belong to EXP, because of the fact that you are modeling and duplicating, and there's no secrets. It's all wide open. Everyone is sharing what they're doing. That's great, because their success also hinges on your success as well. If you're good at what you do, it's going to affect the people that are above you. And there's plenty of EXP stuff out there. I don't want to go hit too hard on EXP, because for some people, they absolutely love it. That's for them. For others, they don't. But what I want everyone to know is that there's a power of a community. I think that's more important than anything. That was the reason too why I joined back in, because there's that community. What about you?
Absolutely, same thing. And kind of, to just share a little bit of my story with you.
Yes. Do it. I want to hear your story.
Yeah, and so you were talking about the balancing act and things being painful. So the first quarter for me was there were a lot of learning curves. I did things sort of backwards. I paused sales for myself so that I could learn more, which is the total opposite of what I was used to doing.
Right.
But I could see that in order to build what I was looking at building, I already had people that were wanting to join in my downline before I was even done with the onboarding process. So I had no choice but I had to choose. Is it more important for me to make a ton of money and sell everything? Or can I sell a little bit and have, just enough to make ends meet while also building this and helping other people? And that's what I chose to do. Again, that balance, so that I didn't have to let go of any opportunities for myself or neglect those people that reached out to me.
Love that. And I think too, you and I talked a little bit about this offline, and I won't bring too much up of offline stuff unless you
Go
want
ahead.
to.
I'm an open book. You feel free.
Well, one of the things that you shared with me that really resonated was that you had said to me, well, you you had some challenges that were happening, that you ended up, people were asking you to do things that were not in alignment with you. They weren't in alignment with who you were. And I mean, we won't go into too deep of specifics, because I actually, that part is not for me to tell, but I will say that I respected that, because you weren't just chasing after dollar bills. And I mean, I've learned that the hard way in life, that just because someone has a credit card, or because someone can pay you for whatever it is that or you can serve, or whatever the case may be, you need to be able to meet them where they're at, and there needs to be that agreement amongst each other. And that's really, I feel like, the only way you can truly help somebody is that the other person, going back to what you said in the very beginning, you got to be open to it.
Yes. And so I will tell you the backstory on that. I'm actually glad that you brought it up, because there's a previous video that was posted on my Facebook in regards to that.
Yes.
And so coaching for a period of time, it's not uncommon for me to get phone calls, to meet up, have lunch, coffee, Zoom calls, to try and dial in on what their goals are and strategize with them on what I can do to help. In that particular case, so background story, where I started from was the Jay Kinder home selling team. Jay taught me anything and everything there was to know about prospecting. I started out as a receptionist worked my way into inside sales and other areas of the business, client experience management, marketing, and sales as well. But this particular person, when I showed them the numbers, and again, numbers don't lie. They are what they are, literally the numbers. And they called them a liar in a sense. And so that didn't go over so well with me. And I admit that maybe I could have handled it a little differently. I got a little upset. I didn't fly off the handle. But what I did do was I shut the door. I did not give them that opportunity. Not saying not forever. I'm saying not at that particular time. Not just, what they had said about my mentor, which is also like family to me. But also their goals were to, get people to just work as hard as they could, sell. And knowing what that's like from a realtor standpoint, whenever I was working myself to the ground, it left me very broken and broke because, brokers, get a certain percentage, this, that, and the other. And if you're just looking at working your people to death, that it's not good for anybody.
No.
Employees, realtors, they're going to get burned out. And I know that because I was one of those.
Yeah.
And so when I saw what their goals were, and it wasn't in alignment with my core values, which is about people, helping them grow, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. However, I am a very empathetic person because I am not perfect. No one is.
That's the truth.
I know that people can change if they're willing to put in the work and grow. And as long as I can see that that they're progressing, that's really all that I ask for. But I need to see that.
Makes sense. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just agreeing with you.
So that was it. I have not spoken another word about it at that point. Right now, it's just it's kind of an autopilot, and we'll see how it goes.
I see. I hear you. Well,
I hope that they do well, and if they need anything, if things change and they're looking at growing, I hope that they do reach out because I would absolutely love to help them.
Yeah. Well, and I think you have to meet people where they're at. I mean, I think that's and when I say meet people where they're at, if you're never in alignment with where they're ever at, you should not meet them anywhere.
Yeah.
It was like a Dr. Seuss riddle right there. But
it was
yeah,
kind of counterintuitive also. They were what they were hiring me for was not something that I did. It wasn't even a service that I offered.
Got it.
I am not recruiting and I'm not for sale. I'm not offering recruiting services to
right. Well, and it's funny because in a lot of times, I mean, people come in and out of your life, and in a lot of cases, the people that come into your life, sometimes they're the best possible fit and they're what you need to get to that next level. And then sometimes it's not. And generally, you're going to feel it. There's going to be a misalignment one way or the other. And something I've learned over the years is that I've never really I've always had this core value, but I never had it dialed in and written down until I started working with Al, of course, Al Stasek. When I started working with him and he had his core values on the wall, I loved that. That resonated with me. And I thought to myself, wow, like that's what you need to hire, fire, set your standards, set your tribe of accountability, the people that you surround yourself with. That's what you have to set it to. And of course, sure, no one around you is going to be perfect because hell, no one is perfect. I'm far from perfect. No one is perfect. We're all a work in progress.
Right.
But ultimately, we've got to have that roadmap, those universal guiding principles that push us to be the best versions of ourselves and that we live by. Because if we're not living by that, then what are we living by? So
Exactly.
I totally get it. You got to have that code. And it sounds like you're the builder of the code. I mean, man, that is powerful. That is powerful. You're the builder of the code. You are the person that's helping people decode their business and ultimately decode their lives.
That's the goal.
I love it. I guys, for everybody that's watching, reach out to this girl. I'm telling you, she single-handedly changed my business. She worked at appointments today. She worked alongside of myself. She was an inside sales rep, moved up to a team lead, moved up to pretty much my right hand, moved up to being the coach, the best of the coach of coaches. You did it all. I mean, and you were phenomenal, but you were also at a point in your life that you weren't at your peak or your best. And sometimes you have to sometimes it's, and I know this is going to sound somewhat cliche, but sometimes you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And before you go and start helping others, you got to get yourself into the best possible place you can be physically, mentally, because all of that makes a huge difference. And then, of course, everything else seems to follow. Would you agree with that?
Yes, very much so. And every time that I've failed, it was because those things were out of balance in one area or all areas at different times.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And when you don't feel well, you're not in good health. For me, I always say, filling my cup. If my cup is empty, I'm not doing well internally. What am I? What I'm exposing to other people is going to be a result of that.
So true.
And
So
so
true.
once I started focusing, I actually had to take a step back. I focused on my mental, physical, spiritual, as well as, having to reach out to resources and people to help get me on the right track, coaches, mentors, sponsors, friends, family, you name it, whoever I could. But I was grasping at anything and everything I could get my hands on to get whatever I needed. And man, I'm just grateful for that because I couldn't figure that out on my own. I really couldn't.
For everyone that's watching too, I think this is so impactful. And I know it's so funny because I'm like, oh, we'll go 20 to 30 minutes. I knew once we got rolling, we'd keep going. But for before we close everything out, because I want you to hit on this, I think this is one of the other big key points as well. And it's going back to what you just said about reaching out to other people. You had said, I remember this in a Facebook post. So I believe you said that you are very proud. You are someone who doesn't always like to ask for help. And there was something wrong with your car. I don't remember if was that I wasn't even, that was maybe some months ago now, but I remember seeing it and I was like, it kind of made me chuckle because I used to work in the automotive industry. So like I know cars very well. But what do you remember that?
Yeah, and so that story actually had nothing at all to do with my car.
That's awesome.
So the company that I'm building, I say my team, it's it's working in sync with family, friends. There's a lot of people that are involved in my business. And my mom was actually over. She had been helping with kids and different things. It was her car.
Yeah.
My son happened to be home that day. He learned about how to change tires and things like that, which in turn, was very helpful, beneficial that day. I could get my work done amidst all the crazy chaos that was going on outside. Because my son was able to take that load off. I didn't have to worry about, okay, how's mom's tire going to get changed? No, I can focus on my work. Again, it's having people, systems, processes in order so that when things like that do come up, it's not going to be a train wreck anymore. It's just taken care of.
So true. That's so powerful. And I still go back to you saying, oh, I had to hire my own inside sales rep. And, the girl that was setting 100 appointments in a month, hired her own sales rep. Some people look at that and they're like, that's crazy. Why would you ever do that? Well, because you can't drink from an empty cup.
Yep.
Plain and simple. You can't drink from an empty cup. And the more that, just because you're great at something, I mean, hell, I had to do the same thing. We do advertising. I reached out to an advertising company and found somebody that was like an affiliate of theirs that was working together, found somebody through them. And it was more or less serendipitous. I don't even know how it happened, but it was just one of those things where I found the right person. I go, oh my God, this is amazing. And they were great. I mean, and they still are. They're amazing. And they've helped us grow our company. And we are great at marketing. That's what our superpower is. That's our niche. We had a client last year we got a couple thousand leads for, and we made them over $1 million. I mean, we love to market. But for me, it took so much because I'm like, I'm the best marketer. I don't need any help. I can do this. I'm the best marketer. I don't need any help. I can do this. And that was the worst mindset I could have had. And it almost, because I was literally trying to pull from an empty cup. Can't be on every sales call. Can't be in every marketing situation. I can't handle every single client. I cannot handle every, and I don't need to. Now, can I? Yes, I can. But again, there's my empty cup.
Yeah.
There's a little bit left in there, but there's the empty cup. For the most part, it is empty because you're trying to do so much. That's why having those systems, those processes, those people in place, it's huge. It is a game changer. So for everybody watching, Deana is the place to be. Deana Hitsman. I'm so used to saying your maiden name or your other name, so my apologies. I want to make sure I caught myself before. But look up Deana on Facebook. Anything you wanted to tell people to close things out? Anything that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I would just like to elaborate a little bit on what you had mentioned. Because you mentioned the word pride, and I did used to have a lot of pride. And if I'm not careful, I can try to, call it a different name. Independent, pride, whatever you want to call it. Because I hold myself to such a high standard and
Sure.
accountability for my actions. I'm like, okay, I'm at this place in my life because of my actions or lack thereof. Right. Or failure to plan, however you want to look at it.
Sure.
And so, in a sense, I wouldn't say that I punished myself, but I wanted to teach myself a painful lesson, because some of the most painful lessons in life are what caused me to want to change and not do those things, not repeat those behaviors. So yeah, I don't have any problems taking things off my plate. In fact, I would rather allow other people to do that as much as possible, as far as, admin, things like that aren't drawing revenue and in alignment with me helping other people in their businesses, because that's the best use of my time. That's what's going to help people the most, not me handling paperwork. So
I love that you said that. And it's funny because I just told someone else this today, and I've actually been, I've been extremely blessed because I've been putting out there, hey, I need to align with coaches and mentors and people that can bring in agents, because, when you do marketing, people don't really know you. They tend to have a very, very, their action threshold is very small when they don't know you. So it takes a lot of interaction for someone to really get to know who you are, what you're about. They learn to align with you. Frankly, I mean, that's also why I do podcasts, because I want to give people value before I ever ask them for anything. And my goal of all these podcasts is that if I can just help one or two people that are stuck or in a bad spot in their lives, for me, that's a game changer. And I had to tell somebody who was a very well-respected coach. We actually know this coach both very well together. I won't say who it is. Well, I could share off of the recording. I could share off of our podcast here up another time. But the coach actually was like, "Hey, I just want you to know, I talked with such and such client. They're overall, they're very happy with everything, but they said that, the number of calls are a little low. And I go, hey, listen, I really appreciate you bringing that to me, but I am not the person to tell that to, because I go, of course I will help bring people in. I'll help with other things. But when it comes to the day-to-day micro minutia, I guess you'd call it. I don't even know if that's a word, but when it comes to that day-to-day of the business, the grind, the gears, the going into how many calls and what's taking place and what's happening, and that is not where my strong suit is. My strong suit is the marketing for the company, the branding for the company, bringing people in, and then of course having people that are in the day-to-day deal with those day-to-day challenges, because that's something that somebody can click a button and fix. Guess what? I don't even know what button to click to fix it, because that is where I'm at in the business. I mean, my day-to-day is, hey, I need to bring in X amount of sales every single month. I need to bring in people that are going to align with what it is that we want to help them accomplish, so that I can be responsible for putting food on everyone's table. That's what I'm doing. I'm the driver of the business. And then I'm looking for higher level, big picture things of how can I replace people's leads with better quality leads? How can I replace people's systems with better systems, which is obviously where I leverage you. Or who can I refer to them to get a coach to train them up on things? Again, refer to you. These are things that we have to know what our superpowers are. What are we best at, and what are we not the best at? I'm that person that I will charm you and you will love me for, like, once we meet, I will bring you in, but then my retention of you, of being like, I charm and then I move on. I have a hunter mentality. It's just who I am. And I'm not ashamed to say that. It's just a part of my personality. It's just a part of my personality. That's why I've always been great at sales, because I will bring people in, but then I have to be aligned with amazing people, which I am. I'm very, very grateful and blessed for that. But I have to be aligned with amazing people that are willing to carry my vision across, so that I'm not the one trying to carry the vision and carry the load and do everything, because that will break me. It just will.
Right.
Because there's only so much that you can take.
That's right.
This here cup.
That's right. Mine is full, by the way. Not completely full because I'm drinking on it, but
I'm empty now. It's empty now. The coffee's gone. So there we go. But Deana, this was awesome. I think that I feel like we caught our stride. Like, I think we really got just a lot of people that, if you watched all the way through, it was funny because, like, oh, we'll be like 20 minutes. We went a lot longer than that, but I'm thrilled that we did it, because you know what? If one person is impacted from this, if one person is, wow, this helped me, then I feel like this was a huge victory, a huge win. And for you, I mean, for everybody that's watching, if you are not with Deana and her coaching and her training, you're missing out. I've learned so much from working together with her. She helps me see things through a different lens, which, frankly, that's one of the most important things, because we all have our own view of the world, but you've helped me see things through a different lens. And that, I think, is so, so valuable. So seriously, thank you so much for jumping on. It was really awesome.
Absolutely. I'm happy to help, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, for everyone watching, see you same channel, same place next week. Thanks, Deana. See everybody.
Have a good day.